You're listening to the Telltale Podcast. Don't forget to check me out on all social media, on Patreon, on Teespring, and on Etsy. All links can be found on my website, telltaleatheist.com, or in the podcast's description.
Hi, Owen. My name is Kristen. I was wondering, I don't know if you're following the whole Onision drama on YouTube, but I feel like I hear the word cult thrown out a lot at him. Like, people are saying that he's created a cult, but I've been watching your videos a lot. Clearly, it's a different type of cult than what you usually talk about. But I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that, and, like, what the difference is between, like, a religious cult, like the ones you usually talk about, and, like, whatever cult, if there is a cult around, like, what Onision is doing to women. And then on top of that, like, it also kind of makes me think of the R. Kelly situation where people are saying that he has, like, a cult. And I was wondering, like, if you could apply the bite model to that kind of cult as well, or if that's more so directed at religious cults. I know in some ways it probably is, but I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that, because I just hear the word thrown out a lot in regards to those types of things, and I was wondering what you think about that. All right. Well, thanks for doing what you do. Take care.
Okay, thank you for the call. I appreciate that. About Onision, that is an interesting situation, and I have been keeping up with it. I have been in communication with some of the people leading the charge on the Onision situation. I don't really want to say a whole lot more about it at the moment because I don't know if anything's going to come of it, but it's possible that I may be working with people to talk about the Onision situation. Now, you mentioned that Onision acts a lot like a cult member, and Chris Hansen has been talking a lot about his status as a cult leader, quote unquote, right? So is he a cult member? Can the bite model apply to Onision? Here's the bottom line with it. As my friend Chris Shelton says, at its most basic, a cult is an abusive relationship between the leadership and the member. So an abusive relationship can have the bite model applied to it, and it does work. It does fit. It makes sense. In fact, since we're talking about it, why don't we just take a quick look at the bite model? Let's look at it and see, like, how it applies. Just think about this in the context of an abusive relationship rather than a cult. Does the abuser promote dependence and obedience? For example, will they try to prevent the person from working outside the home so that they rely completely on them, so that they have no way of escaping the situation? Do they dictate where and with whom you live? Do they try to make you shun your friends and family? Deliberately withhold and distort information? Do they instill black and white, us versus them, good versus evil thinking? Do they use loaded language and cliches to stop complex thought? All of this stuff applies to an abusive relationship because, as I said, at its most basic, that's what a cult is. So the bite model does apply to Onision very, very heavily. But aside from the fact that he has the markings of a cult leader and that the bite model definitely does apply to him, he also actually did try to start a cult. I forget the name of the cult now. It starts with an S, I think. But anyways, it was an actual full-blown religion that he was kind of playing with, basically. And there were tenets and rules and everything. So yeah, I would say that the bite model does very clearly apply to Onision, without a doubt. And his behavior is absolutely horrific to me. In fact, one of the things that bothers me more than anything else on this planet is when somebody abuses their position or authority. There is a power dynamic between everybody. When I worked at my old company, there was a power dynamic between me and my boss. We can be friendly with each other, but if we start going out and getting drinks together every night or something like that, there's going to be some level of weirdness there. Because they have authority over my paycheck. They have authority over the jobs that I take. What are my fellow employees going to think if I'm best buds with my boss and they're not? And suddenly I get a pay raise and they get jealous of that. There's a power difference between people. And as a YouTuber, there is a difference, like a power differential between Onision and Onision's fans. And the fact that he's using that difference in authority to prey on people is absolutely horrific to me. Like, people, when they first talk to him, when they meet him for the first time, they have stars in their eyes. They don't realize that he's just another dude, just like anybody else. There's nothing special about the guy. There's nothing special about any YouTuber. We're all just people. But the fans in Onision's fan base don't realize that, because he's got millions of subscribers. He's got all of this money and all of the, he had Patreon and all of this influence, this giant Twitter account. He seems important. So when you talk to somebody like that, it feels special. And you'll just do anything for them, for their approval. They've got stars in their eyes when they talk to Onision. And he can use that to his advantage, and does. And it's absolutely the most disgusting thing. Abusing your power is the most disgusting thing that you can do, in my eyes. So with that being said, yes, the bite model does apply to Onision. Very, very clearly. Absolutely no question. I appreciate the phone call and the question. I'm hoping that I'm going to have an opportunity to talk more on the subject, but we'll see. Time will tell.